You ever have one of those days where you feel less like a manager and more like a firefighter, just running from one crisis to the next? Today, we're talking about how to make a huge shift in mindset, how to stop putting out fires and start designing the building. Let's jump in.
And this quote, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The biggest problem we all face as leaders isn't a lack of money, it's the feeling that the clock is always winning. But here's the thing. The real enemy isn't the workload, it's the way we're working.
Okay, look at this. This slide lays out the two worlds perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the firefighter. They're living in a constant state of reaction, chaos, and trying to control everything. Then on the right, you have the architect. They're operating with systems, with order, and with a real strategy. Our goal here is to give you the blueprint to get from the left side of this picture over to the right.
So how do we get there? We're going to follow a clear plan. First, we'll figure out which one you are right now. Then we'll lay the foundation with processes that can run themselves. After that, we build the structure with smart delegation and the right metrics. We'll fire it all up with an engine of constant improvement, and finally, we'll check out the incredible new view you get as a manager.
All right, let's get into part one, the diagnosis. We've got to be honest with ourselves. Are we the firefighter or are we the architect?
So many managers are stuck in what's called operational hell. Sound familiar? It's when your entire day is just one long reaction. Urgent email, unexpected problem, quick fix, repeat. You get to the end of the day completely drained, but you feel like you haven't actually moved the needle on anything important. That, right there, is the firefighter's trap. And here's a really powerful way to think about this. We tend to see micromanagement as, a personal flaw, but it's not. It's a giant, flashing warning light. It's the proof that your system is broken and that your team doesn't have the tools they need. It's the symptom, not the actual disease. Which leads us perfectly into our second section, where we start building the solution. It all starts with laying a solid foundation of autonomous processes. This is how you begin to create a team that doesn't need you for every little thing.
Now, I know when some people hear standardization, they think it's going to kill creativity, but it's actually the complete opposite. When you have clear, repeatable ways of doing the boring, routine stuff, you're not locking people in a cage, you're building them a launchpad. You're getting the mundane stuff out of the way so all that amazing brain power can focus on what really matters, innovating and growing.
And the benefits here are just huge. The biggest one, it frees you up. It lets you, the leader, finally do the job you were hired to do, to think about the big picture. And at the same time, your team feels empowered, the quality of work stays high, and you create this super stable platform for real growth. Okay, on to our third section. We've got our foundation poured. Now it's time to put up the framework that holds everything together, and that means true delegation and really clear key performance indicators, or KPIs.
And this is such an important distinction. True delegation isn't just handing off tasks from your to-do list. It's about transferring real ownership and the authority to go with it. Because if every single decision still has to come back to you for approval, you haven't actually delegated anything. You've just made yourself the company bottleneck.
So how do you actually do it? Well, first, be incredibly clear about the result you want, but not the nitpicky steps to get there. Second, give them the authority they need to get it done. Third, and this one is so critical, you have to let them make mistakes. That's how people learn. Your job changes from being a controller to being a mentor. You guide, you don't dictate. But okay, let's be real. How do you trust this new system without constantly checking in and looking over everyone's shoulder? Well, that's where the second half of our framework comes in. You need clear, objective ways to measure success.
And this is the beauty of a well-designed KPI. It does two jobs at once. For your team member, it's like a GPS. It tells them if they're on track to get to the destination. And for you, the leader, it's like the dashboard in your car. You can see at a glance if everything's running smoothly without having to pop the hood and check every single part.
Just remember, a KPI should never feel like a weapon used for punishment. A good KPI is always tied to the big strategic goals, it's something you can actually measure objectively, and maybe most importantly, the person who's responsible for it totally gets it.
Moving on to section 4. So, we've got a foundation and a framework, but what's going to power this whole machine and keep it running smoothly? We need an engine, and that engine is a culture of Kaizen, or continuous improvement.
You've got to remember that building a great system isn't a one-and-done project. You don't just finish it and walk away. A truly great organization is like a living thing. It has to be able to adapt and get better over time. And that's exactly what the Kaizen philosophy is all about.
And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. The old way is to just let things go until they're so broken you need this massive, painful company-wide overhaul. The Kaizen way is totally different. It's about making tiny, little improvements every single day. You avoid all that drama and disruption by just getting a little bit better all the time.
And honestly, this is the ultimate game changer for your company culture. When you bring in Kaizen, you're telling every single person on your team, hey, your brain is just as valuable as your hands. They're not just cogs in a machine anymore. They are active owners of the process, always looking for ways to make it better. Suddenly, quality isn't your job, it's everyone's job.
And that brings us to our final section, the big payoff. What do you get for all this hard work of transforming yourself from a firefighter into an architect?
Well, let's recap what you've built. You now have a complete architect's toolkit. You've got a rock-solid foundation of processes, a strong framework built on delegation and smart KPIs, and a high-performance engine of continuous improvement that keeps everything moving forward.
And this is the real prize. By becoming an architect, you create a system that basically runs and improves itself. And that freedom, it elevates you. It pulls you out of the day-to-day chaos and gives you back that scarce currency we talked about at the beginning. The time and the mental space to stop looking down at the fire at your feet and start looking out at the horizon.
So the final question I want to leave you with isn't about managing your team tomorrow. It's about what becomes possible when you're not just putting out fires anymore. Now that you are an architect, what will you build?